fellow diamond painting addicts, and welcome back to Diamond Painting Anonymous. Today I have a testing video for you. This is going to be about my decorative metal tips that I bought from Amazon, and I will stick a link in the description below to these. After I unboxed these, I had a lot of questions from you guys about how well these would work, and a lot of comments from some people who've already tried them that didn't think they worked very well and said they were really heavy, kind of clunky, etc., etc. So my thought was I would do a video to kind of show you some of the ins and outs and kind of my first thoughts. Now, I will tell you, other than the unboxing, I haven't done anything with these tips, so I have not used them at all yet. And I have enough steel tips now that I was actually trying to hunt down a pen that still had a plastic tip on it that I could swap out easily. So what I found was my pen from Axe and Iron, and I do have a steel barrel on this one. But I still had a plastic multi-placer on this end. So I'm going to be switching that out for one of these decorative tips. And I may use more than one. I don't know yet. We'll see how far I get with the testing of them. So, and actually, now that I think about it, I might go grab my other pins just so that we have other tips for comparison. So don't go anywhere. I will be right back. Okay, so I've grabbed some of my other pens so that I can do a comparison of tips. However, one of the first things somebody mentioned was that these are way heavier than regular tips. So I grabbed one of my cat-eared stainless steel tips, and I brought in my little scale, my little postal scale here, so that we can see how much it is. And I'm going to do this in grams just because that's works better for most people. If I can get it to work here. Okay, so grams. Let's see how much this one weighs. Let me scoot this over a little bit. I don't know if you can read that, but I can read it. It's 0. So this one, 4 grams. So this is the steel tip, the decorative steel tip, and you can see the decorative one looks to be a little bit longer, just a skosh. But it definitely, the barrel head is much bigger. And it does also look like the opening is much bigger. So that's interesting. It looks like I could almost stick the opening of this one inside the opening of this, which was another complaint, was that these were too big and it made the drills too hard to place. So I'll be testing that as well, but let's see. That was 4 grams. This one weighs 3, so it's actually less. Let's weigh this one again. Now this one says 3, so they're the same weight. Let me see that. 3 and 3. Okay, so they are essentially the same weight, even though they may feel heavier. And that's for the single tips. That may be different if you're talking about a different one. Let's see how much the angled tips weigh. That one says 4. Again, this one is 3. Let's see if this one is 4. 4. So this one is slightly heavier, but it's also slightly bigger, I think. So there is that. Also, I would imagine that these at 3 grams are also much heavier than just doing, say, the little barrels for weight, if that's a concern for you. So, okay, so I'm going to stick this in the pen, and it actually sticks in there pretty nicely. There's a little bit of a gap, but not much. So let me move this scale out of the way now that I've weighed that. And then let's see. I have already loaded this one with some wax, but I brought in some wax, and I have a kit just sitting here that I'm going to just use really quickly. I don't know if I'll have unboxed this one or not by the time you guys see it, but anyway. So let's see. Let's do some number 1s, shall we? And see how that goes. Let me grab a tray here so I can pour my drills out. And let me zoom you in a little bit. Let me adjust where I'm focused here so you guys can see. And then let's see how this goes. Whoops, wrong end of the pen. Okay. So I just want to place a few of them here and see if it makes them difficult to put next to each other. It doesn't currently, but I also have quite a bit of wax loaded in my pen, so it could be that I have enough wax. I mean, it does, even though it's interesting, even though it didn't weigh heavier on the scale, it does seem to weigh heavier in your hand, which is kind of funny because you would think it would feel the same, but it does feel a bit heavier with that on the end of it. Okay, let me grab one that I've got that's going to be right next to those number ones. So let me grab A's and see how well I can place them next to the 9s. I mean, it doesn't look like I'm having any problems. So, I mean, it does feel like there's a bit of a slide when you place them in there, but it works. So I'm going to say maybe this is just down to personal preference, that maybe some people are bothered by the thicker feel and look of it. But as far as how it works, I'm not really finding that it works any better or worse. I definitely can see how there's preferences, and like I'm scooching these with the other side because it does feel a little bit unwieldy to do it with this one. But I mean, they're laying down and they're laying down flat next to each other, so I don't see that I'm not able to get it in there. So there's that. For the single placer, it's not bad. And oh, someone had a tip. I don't know that it makes a difference with these particular ones. Let me zoom you back out here. I don't know that it makes a difference with these particular ones because they don't say they're stainless steel or steel. They just say metal. But all those plastic tweezers that we get for free in kits, if you keep some of those, then you can use it to dig the wax out. I am going to look at a couple more of these just to see. So I want to try some of the multi-placers. I want to try one of the straighteners. So let's see. So how does this straightener fit in there? Fits in there well, fits in there nice and seated. Now, what I wanted to do was compare this to one of my other straighteners, the other ones that I've purchased. So it's not nearly as long as you can see, but and I think, well, this one might be just a tad thicker. So again, I think maybe that may be down to personal preference. It does feel quite thick to stick it in there, so I'm not sure about that. It feels much thicker than this one. Maybe if you look at that from the side, put my hand behind it, can you see the difference there in the edges of these? So it is quite a bit thicker. But they do all seem to fit in the pen nicely without any extra support, which is nice. I mean, I can pull it out, but it's not going to fall out. So that's nice. So then, let's see. Let's try one of the 3 placers. And again, that fits in there nicely. Because I'm curious, because someone was saying that, you know, they're so much thicker, they just didn't place nicely. I'm curious. So that's what my wax looks like after loading it. So it definitely, again, feels a bit thicker. I'm going to fold that in there like that. Let me pour some more drills in here so I can get some lined up so that I can use my multi-placer. And let me zoom in again so that you guys can kind of see what I'm doing here. So I'm just going to try and pick up 3 of these and place them and see how it does. You know, again, I gotta say, this doesn't feel terrible. It is thicker. I will say that. It does feel thicker, and for whatever reason, it does feel a bit heavier. But it's not impossible to place drills with this one by any means. If I can get it to pick the drills up. Okay, so that part is annoying to me. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see that, but the well is so deep, it's already pushed all the drills back, or all the wax back so far in there that it really, it's not reaching the drills. So let me overload it with wax and see if that helps. And again, I think this is all going to be down to personal preference, because I think, you know, some people won't mind overloading with wax. I have done this before and it's not a big deal to me, but I can certainly see how some people would not like this method. So, and you know, there's other methods out there. So if you'd rather use a pretty placer than one of these, then you do you. But I'm actually not seeing that they're terrible for placing. I mean, that one, those placed all nicely in a row. They're all pressed down nicely. Those went down okay. Again, I did have to kind of overload it with wax because for these multi-placers, that well in there is so deep. And let me get one of my other multi-placers if I can find it. Does that have, no, that's a straightener. Okay, here's a multi-placer. This one has glue dots in it. But see how much thinner the walls are of this one compared to this one. So I think that's some of the issue. Hopefully I'm not zoomed in enough that that's making you crazy, but I think maybe that's part of the issue. And again, I think some of that is just going to be down to personal preference. I know lots of people use these ones that have the thicker walls. I personally do not like these. I can use them, but they're not my favorite. I wanted to get these and try them out just to see, because you know, we all like pretty things, and what's wrong with trying out some new pretty things, right? So if you like these, they're really not that much different, you know, than the others, other than, let me zoom you back out here so I'm not right in your face, other than they do have the thicker walls, which you may or may not like. They're not my favorite, but they do work. So let me put my drills away here before I forget, because then I'll get confused. So, and then I will just move all this back out of the way now that that part of the demonstration is done. And I'm curious how much some of these multi-placers weigh. So I was using the three placer, and I have a plastic 3-placer here to compare with the metal one. Now, this is plastic compared to metal, so that may not be an absolutely fair comparison, but just let's see. So the plastic one is registering as less than 1 gram, probably. Zero ounces So registering is 0 ounces. Okay, well, cool. So let's see how much this one weighs. I'm going to guess around 3 or 4. Okay, let my scale is being weird there for a minute. Okay, so that weighs is 4. Let me take it off and weigh it again since my scale's being weird. Nope, it still says 4. Now this one weighed as 3 earlier, so does it still weighs 3? Now it says 5. What is going on, scale? Are these two different ones? Here's both the angled one. Let's see. Are they different weights? That one weighs as 4. Now that one weighs as 4. Okay, so this isn't going to be exactly scientific because apparently my scale has issues, but so we'll say 4 for these. It's pretty much where it's weighing. And the 3 placer is weighing in at 4 as well. Now this is the 9 placer. Let's see how much the 9 placer is registering. 5. So they are, like I said, well, I was going to say they're weighing a bit heavier. They're not because the single placer weighed the same amount as the cat-eared one. I think maybe it's just psychological because it looks thicker. We assume it's going to be heavier. And maybe also because it's got these decorative things on there. It just looks like it would be heavier. But it actually isn't. So, you know, it just looks different. So I would say, you know, if you like these, they do seem to work okay. The straighteners, I don't know if I could recommend those because they are quite thick and that's not really what you want in your straightener, but they come in the package with all of the rest of them. If you like the angled placers, which a lot of people do, then it comes with 2 of those. You get 2 3 placers, 2 5 placers, and 2, is this a 7 or a 9? This might be a 9. I can't remember. Anyway, you can look at the unboxing. 3, 6, and 9. I think that's what it was. The 2 3 placers, 2 6 placers, 2 9 placers, 2 straighteners, 2 angled tips, and 2 straight tips. So, yeah, I mean, they work, right? Which is what you want. So I guess after looking at them and testing them, my reaction is if you like them and they're pretty, go for it. Personally, I probably won't be using them a whole lot. I definitely won't be using the straighteners. I might use the 3 or the single placers, the straight single placers. I doubt seriously that I will use the angled ones. I've tried these before and they're not my preference. So those may go in my giveaway pile. But the 3 placers and maybe even the 6 placer, I might try just to see. I'm going to have to buy some more pens, guys. The sacrifices I make for you. Because almost all of my pens have either steel barrels like this or they have full steel tips. So I'm going to have to buy some more pens, which, well, woe is me, right? I'm going to have to buy some more diamond painting pens. I've actually got enough pens now that I think I'm going to have to also invest in some fancier storage for them just so I can see what I've got. So yeah, there you go. Testing out the decorative metal tips. And again, you know, I think it's a matter of preference. If you like them, then go for it. They do work. They may feel a bit heavier. They may not be what you prefer in your hand. But, you know, if you're interested in trying them, they do work. So there you go, guys. There is my test run of the decorative metal steel or decorative metal tips. I keep saying steel. They're not steel. They're sold as decorative metal tips. They do come in this cute little fancy carrying case. So if that is something you're interested in. And I think you can, I don't know if you can buy them only in the set or if you can buy them separately. So, you know, if you don't want to spend the money to get all of them, you could maybe buy just the pieces that you want. And I got the silver. They also come in gold and black. So, you know, if you're looking to fancy yours up, goth yours up, do whatever, go for it, I say. They're not the best I've ever used, but they're certainly not the worst. I would say they're right in the middle. They're functional. They are pretty. I guess my only complaint really is they do feel heavier, which is weird because I've weighed them and I know they're not. But yeah. So as always, guys, if it's something that you think you would like, go for it. Um, yeah, again, I'll put the link to the description below so that you can check them out for yourself if you're interested. Before you leave, guys, don't forget to do all the things. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification icon so that you can be informed of future uploads. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.